then the fact that moving from the export mode to the hierarchical investment mode is called internationalization. And internationalizing, there are a lot of factors that influence going international for your business. And we talked about the internal factors and we talked about the external factors. On the internal factor, we talked about the firm size, we talked about the complexity of the product, we talked about the uniqueness of the product, we talked about the international exposure of the staff of the company, as one of some of the major factors that affect internationalization. And these are internal factors. The external factors, we talked about the social, cultural factors and the environment. We talked about the trade barriers, both tariff and non-tariff trade barriers, direct and indirect barriers. We also discussed the competition in the market, how the competition in the market affects the business. We talked about the uncertainty in demand, the risk of entering into that export market, and all these are internal and external factors affecting entry into export market. And we talk about other concern that a business might have, the risk issue, the control issue, the flexibility issue. That a business that is risk averse most likely will not want to internalize. A business that wants a lot of flexibility will not want to internalize. A business that wants a lot of control on the market will want to internalize. But today we'll be continuing the conversation and we'll be talking about problems. The European Union suspended Nigeria agricultural food products for since 2006 actually, 2016 rather. Basically because one of the major issues was, even though there are about 7 different items on that list of 8, but one of the major issues was beans. And what's the issue with beans? Beans from Nigeria generally have a very high level of pesticide. These pesticides are called diclovers. You know, the EU says that they want just about 0.01 microgram per kg as the acceptable minimum level of residue in the beans. But guess what Nigeria have? 0.03 to 4.6 microgram per kg. And this became a major challenge really, because the concern of the European Union Health Committee or health agency is that if you consume any food item that have a lot of diclovers, that over time the person is predisposed to cancer. And because of the fact that it's cancerous, if it's accumulated in the body for a long time, that becomes a major concern for them. So they have given an acceptable minimum level of any product that contains diclovers as a pesticide. So that means it's just a residue you are finding there. But you know what happened in the case of Nigeria? People pour all sorts of things inside what we eat actually. And unfortunately, nobody is controlling them. And it gets into the market and everybody just buy. So the next time you want to buy beans, or you want to cook beans, it's recommended that you parboil it. Parboil it and decant the water they have used to parboil it so as to reduce significantly the effect of diclovers. And of course, if you are using it for moi moi, for example, or akara, for example, the peel will have gone out. I mean, the bark rather will have been peeled off rather, and that makes it a lot safer for you to use. But if you are to eat the beans we have in Nigerian market today, I'm sorry, that beans is not good for human consumption. Unfortunately, a lot of people are eating it, and that's why we have a lot of people also having a lot of issues, health issues in our environment. And that's what the Europeans are trying to prevent in their country. That's why they said, look, this will not be allowed. Now, there's a challenge for us in Nigeria. The challenge is inability to enforce laws that the government are put in place. It's a major challenge for us in Nigeria. So even when the government sets standard of what should be in the beans, nobody's enforcing it. And because nobody's enforcing it, the people are still going ahead to do it. Because they will, you know, it seems as if there is not even control on the things that is sold in the market. Someone can just bring anything he wants into the market and people just buy and eat. And nobody is checking. Nobody is going to the market and check the quality of what this person is selling. And because if this is being checked and people know that if they are selling rubbish, agency will come and destroy it. They will stop it. But you know what happened? Those people are going to be bribed. And because those people are going to be bribed, it becomes very difficult for the agency to enforce. Why would the people be bribed? Because the people are hungry. How on earth do you expect an hungry man to enforce the law or the regulation of the government? If the government have said the maximum we can pay is 30,000 naira to a man that have a wife, to a man that have a wife, have children, and will have to pay rent and survive, then it's not going to work. He's going to have to look for illegal means of surviving. Not to exonerate what they are doing, but to say that, look, this is a reality that confronts us in Nigeria, is something we really, really, really need to do something about. Because if nothing is done about it, the challenge we will face is that we will keep making the laws, robust laws, but the laws will never be obeyed. The laws will never be obeyed. For example, in Nigeria today, it's expected that if you want to export from Nigeria, you must apply to the government. You apply by filling what is called Form M to import, Form NXP to export. Now, I think Form M is a bit well enforced, but on the export, people are shipping product out of Nigeria without documentation. Okay, how do I know? The record from other agencies outside this country who gets their data from shipping line shows that the volume of item recorded by CBN, the volume of item recorded by National Bureau of Statistics that are exported out of Nigeria are way, way lower compared to actually what were exported as recorded by the shipping line and obtained by different agencies, from WTO to World Top Export to MIT website on trade. It's always different and higher. Just telling us that, look, a lot of items are leaving the country without documentation. So even if the government wants to enforce the beans issue, it has to be enforced from the field, from the farm gate, from the market. Because if we wait to enforce it at the port, I can't trust the port because of the data we are obtaining that shows that goods are leaving Nigeria and they are not being checked. They don't even have record from CBN, National Bureau of Statistics. That means the government don't have the record of those products. The government don't have the record of the product. It's that bad. It's that bad. This is basically saying that if the government put the regulation in place, it's going to be flouted. People are going to disobey. People are going to do what they want to do. Unfortunately, there are no consequences. There are no consequences. There are no consequences. There are no consequences. There are no consequences because the people to enforce that, like I said, are hungry. So they collect so many legal, illegal fees. And with this, they're able to take care of their needs. So whatever the government have put in place to be able to salvage anything, they look away and do what they want to do. And this is a major, major challenge for us in Nigeria today. As a matter of fact, it was said that the EU sent several notifications to Nigeria informing the agency about this issue. But for one reason or the other, nothing seems to be done about it. Just like any other regulation in Nigeria. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Because locally, people, flout law with recklessly and nobody really tends to enforce those things. Now, this is a major concern. It's a major concern because it then makes it difficult for us to be able to adhere to any global standard. It makes it difficult for us to be able to adhere to any global standard. Why? Because we are unable to adhere to any global standard because when the standard is set and transmitted to Nigeria and government making known to the people, but nobody is able to enforce it. Nobody is able to enforce it. Until enforcement is taken very seriously, we probably continue to have issue with quality of product for exports. So here is my take and my recommendation for a typical exporter. If you are going to export beans or any product, going to the open market to pick it up is not the wise thing to do. So you might have to work with individuals. Like for example, there is this company called CropSafe. This CropSafe company ensure that the item you are procuring or beans you are procuring is dichlorose free. So what they do is, when the farmer are harvesting, they actually pick up the beans from the farmers and use other technology, nitrogen and other inert chemicals to protect the food item. Some people use natural means, some use organic means to protect the food item. You know? And what this has done, it has made it a lot easier. Make it a lot easier for people to be able to obtain beans in Nigeria that is free of dichlorose. It might be a bit expensive, but it's safe. And if you are thinking of exporting, those are the people you want to check. You want to meet. You can check them online. CropSafe, Crop, C-R-O-P, Safe, S-A-F-E. And they've been able to come up with technology to be able to, because there are ways to prevent. I mean, why should we use chemicals that can kill human beings when there are a better alternative? So basically, I will say that the people that put sniper, that put dichlorose and put lots of things into beans need to be, number one, educated. Number two, the alternative they should use should be made available. But more importantly, number three, anybody flouting the regulations should be dealt with, should be made to face the music, should be made to face the wrath of the law. If that begins to happen, definitely people are going to sit up and begin to do what they need to do in order to be able to export their product. Now, let's move away from pesticide residue. There are many other issues that Nigerian food item tends to face if you are in the food system. And for food, it's a lot better really for food because, sorry, it's a lot challenging for food because food, if I'm exporting cream, if I'm exporting fashion, wear, cosmetics, it's a lot easier because those things don't go into the mouth. So they are not as dangerous. Those things don't go into the mouth. They are not as dangerous as the one that go into the mouth. So those that go into the mouth are a bit challenging. Why? Because they can kill. They can kill. You know the implication of that? The countries that you are shipping to, they make very strict regulations on those products coming to their country. They make very strict regulations. And they are very strict on these regulations because of the fact that if they allow just anything to come into their country, then they will have successfully enabled their citizens to be consuming poisons. And many years down the line, people are going to be having different sicknesses and diseases and dying because of what they consume for many years, like the case of dichlorose. So if you are exporting non-food item, you will probably not have most of the issues I'll be talking about this morning and probably this evening. Most of the issues I'll be talking about in terms of problem being faced by an exporter, you probably will not have it. You probably will not have it. Now, still talking about food, you know, there is this major issue with food, and it's called the PAH, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. If any food item is processed through, and the processing involves any form of heating, what happens is that the heating process makes it to develop polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, PAH. And this PAH, there are many of them actually, but a number of them have been said to be also cancerous. So for example, roasted food, either roasted with charcoal, fish, smoked fish, smoked with charcoal, smoked with gas, smoked with oven, all of them develop polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. A good example of it is smoked fish. Suya is another very interesting example. A lot of food items, as long as it's smoked. Now, it's also been shown that smoking with oven, with gas, with other means are not as safe as smoking with charcoal. Are not as safe as smoking with charcoal because of the residue of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon on this product. Now, these are food items that we eat very regularly and easily in Nigeria. But the EU, the US, and other agencies of government around the world have said this is not safe for our citizens. Don't bring it to our country. So you will now find out that, you know, sometimes we'll be talking to some people at the training and they will say, what's the problem with this country self? Why is it that they are troubling us? Is it that they don't want us to sell this product to them? We are not selling to them, we are selling to our people in their country. Sorry. Either you are selling to your brother or sister in their country, that's not the issue here. The issue here is, if a problem happens, health issue in that country, the body will be on their own health system. So even if you want to sell it to your own brother, the brother will go to their own clinic and they are concerned about, because remember, they do a lot of health insurance. So that means the cost will be high on that country in terms of what they have to pay to the hospital because of the health insurance that have been done by your brother. And that's why they will not allow that in their country. Now, what this is telling you basically is that there's so many things we consume as a people in Nigeria, in Africa, that are actually contributing significantly to the very low level. Contributing significantly to the very low level of life expectancy in Africa. In other parts of the world, the life expectancy tends to be a lot higher than in Africa. Why? Because they have been able to develop a health system that truly protects the citizen. They have been able to develop a health system that truly protects the citizen. We have not been able to develop that because of inadequate monitoring. And because they've been able to develop a health system that protects their citizen, what that has done for them is it has made it easier for them to live longer. Whereas our people have not been able to live very long because of the kind of stuff we consume and nobody is checking. Fine, in Nigeria we have NAFDAC. So my recommendation for you, if you are trying to export anything out of Nigeria, is to ensure that any item you are trying to export is NAFDAC certified. Why? Ensure that the product is NAFDAC certified because at least you will know that at the minimal level, your product is secured. At the minimal level. At the minimal level. I said at the minimal level because even the NAFDAC, people have also found a way to circumvent it. If that is not true, we won't find a situation in which people have food processed, packaged, and have NAFDAC on it, and at the end of the day, you just find out that this thing is substandard. In fact, maybe they stamped the NAFDAC number wrongly on it, I can't say, but the fact is that you still found out that this product is substandard. Sometimes even the product have expired. How do you explain the fact that drugs are in Nigeria that have expired and those drugs are still in the market? So the fact that he has NAFDAC is not enough. But since that's the only thing we have in Nigeria, if you are a sincere exporter, food processor, you want to ensure you get NAFDAC and abide by whatever thing they've told you to do in terms of your routine, in cleaning your factory, in your SOP, standard operation procedure, so that at the end of the day, it becomes a lot easier for you to preserve the health of Nigerians. What is this about us wanting to do business and make money and don't even have concern about the people that are consuming what you are producing? So if you kill eventually the people that are supposed to eat your what you are producing, what happened? You know, sometimes you also be wondering, people will import fake drug into Nigeria, and you ask yourself, what if your family member take that drug? Is it that we just do business without conscience, without even thinking about the implication on the society, on the environment? Now, if we do that in Nigeria, please note, it will not be allowed in the international market. Why? They are very concerned about the health of their citizens. It will not be allowed in the international market. Why? They don't joke with the health of their citizens. And any citizen found to be flouting that regulation, look at what they do. For example, if a product is about to enter the country, like when we're trying to push PAP into UK, they will test the product to be sure it's in order. So there is a testing for it. But after you started importing the product as an importer in that country, from time to time they come to your supermarket and pick up samples of those products and go and test them from time to time. From time to time. Maybe every 3 months, maybe every 6 months. But the day they come and found out that you are selling a product that is bad, expired, of low quality, below what the country expects, number one, they will ensure that all the remaining part of those products in your warehouse are destroyed, number one. Number two, the person that is selling it is one that will pay for the destruction of those products. Now, you know what that does for you as an exporter? That particular person buying from you will not buy from you again. You will have destroyed the market you have for that product. You will have successfully destroyed. Kai, no, wow, why are you running like this? Why are you running like this? You'll have been able to successfully destroy the market for that product. Successfully destroy the market for that product. Why? Because the person that is buying from you will not buy from you again. Will not buy from you again. Now, that's a system they have put in place in their country. But you know, in Nigeria, people will import bad product and keep importing it because nobody is checking. And because nobody is checking, it's one day that they just realize that people are dying and dying and dying and dying, and then someone will realize, or someone just found out, sometimes just accidentally, and then it becomes a big news, something that many people are doing. Some will even bring those items in and go and repackage it and change the expiry date written on those things. So that, because many people don't even check the expiry date. For example, if you eat sausage in Lagos, some people don't even know that the expiry date of sausage is less than, is it a week or 2 weeks max? So people are going to buy sausage, they are going to eat it, and there's so many brands of those sausage around, and they're going to eat it, and those things are not good for their health. I'm saying, if we are used to compromising quality, if we are used to not adhering strictly to regulations, especially as relate to food health related issues, you really will not be able to do that successfully in an export market. So you must then take it very seriously. You know what happened? What some people now discover is they now see the standard of export as being very high. Not because the standard is really very high, but because they are used to a low standard locally. If you are used to a low standard locally, and then someone is trying to now give you a higher level of standard than you are used to. Not because locally they want the low standard, but because nobody is checking the standard that have been set. Because I know that NAFDAC reasonably benchmark their standard against other standards of the world. Reasonably, they benchmark their standard against standards of other countries and companies around the world. Now, in benchmarking their standard against that, meaning that if I am following NAFDAC in anything I do, in that analysis, I shouldn't have issue with the quality of my item. But we still have issue with the quality of our item, such that if a lot of product being exported out of Nigeria tends to have issues. And sometimes these issues happen in the cost of production. Sometimes not even the cost of production, it's already on the raw material being used. Another issue we face is aflatoxin. Aflatoxin. Any product that have oil can easily grow mold. And with the mold is called mycoxin in microbiology. Mycoxin produce aflatoxin in the residue. Let me give you an example. You know, sometimes you have bread in the house, or you have a particular food item in the house. Bread is very common for this. And this bread, you've kept it for a while in the house, and the bread is growing mold. Do you know what some people do? They will remove the mold area and still eat it. Can you imagine? They will remove the mold area and still eat it. The mold that is growing on it is called mycoxin. That mold releases on the substance aflatoxin. Aflatoxin has been implicated as a causative agent of cancer. know the implication of that? You think you have removed the mold growing. You are still eating aflatoxin. And you know what? Our corn, our sesame seed, our I think ginger, and then granite have these things. They have these things. And because of this aflatoxin content, it prevents, in fact, they've rejected a lot of our products. They've rejected and even banned a lot of our products. Why? Because of aflatoxin. Now, aflatoxin is not, if aflatoxin is in a processed food, it still be as a result of the processing. No matter how hygienic the processing of that product is, if aflatoxin is there in the raw materials, it will not be eradicated, it will not be removed from the final or finished product after processing. It will still be there. It will still be there. Why? Because it's garbage in, garbage out. If you use a corrupted, polluted raw materials, defective raw materials, you can't come out with a healthy product, because the raw material is already defective. So there's no way you will come out with a healthy product from a raw material that is already defective. And that's exactly what happened to our finished product. Now, I'm taking time to go through all these issues and challenges for us to be able to understand the fact that Nigerian products have issues abroad because of the way our regulatory agencies have handled locally the issue of enforcement of everything they put in place in terms of ensuring that the item, the product being sold in the market are of good quality. And until this low-grade quality are enforced, it becomes very, very difficult for us to be able to really do anything. I'm trying to move. It becomes easier for us to be able to fix this issue. So, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to ensure that Nigerian products do not get banned abroad, the solution is just ensuring that local agencies enforce quality of the product being exported. If the quality of the product being exported locally are good enough, then of course we'll have been able to successfully solve the product quality issue confronted by Nigerian product abroad. Thank you very much for listening again this morning. Remember this import-export platform, Facebook Live from Trinity Best Trade Academy. I had to do this inside the car this morning because I literally spent about 2 hours getting to work this morning, caught traffic and rain in Lagos. This video will go on YouTube. Remember, our YouTube channel is 3T Impest TV. Kindly remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the video, click notification bell so you know when a new video is uploaded, but more importantly, share with your friends and relatives and any other person you think might be interested in what we discuss. Thank you very much. See you in the evening by 6 p.m. and bye for now.